Hello and welcome to the introductory course to computers and Windows. Um, it's my hope with this tutorial that you'll become more comfortable with using your computer. Too often have I had people call me and say, I know absolutely nothing about computers. I'm completely computer illiterate. When really they know more than they think they do, they just don't have the confidence. So it's my hope that this will give you the confidence you need that when you're talking to a technical support rep or anybody else about computers, you can comfortably use the terms. And eventually down the line, I hope that you'll be able to troubleshoot your own issues, saving you the call to tech support and the headache and the money. So to start, we'll talk about the different components that make up a computer as you think of it. For example, when someone asks you, what is the computer? Instinctively, most people think of the screen, which is natural because that's where you get most of your visual input, that's where you're looking all the time. But really, as we'll see later, the computer is actually the tower. Everything else is just a peripheral. Great. Let's get started on the first component I'd like to talk about, which is in fact the screen. You can call it the screen, the display, the monitor. What you're really talking about is where you see what's going on in the computer. An older technology that was used for display is called CRT. It's commonly referred to as a tube monitor, and it looks something like this. It's big, it's bulky, it takes up half your desk, and you wish you could get rid of it. And most people have, thanks to the newer technology becoming cheaper and more accessible to people who don't have a ton of money to spend on computers. The new technology is called an LCD or flat panel monitor. Both provide the same basic function, they just do it in different ways. And we'll cover more about this, how they each work, way later, once we've gotten comfortable with using the computer. The next component, which you probably use the most, is called the keyboard. Most keyboards look something like this, and it's what you use to type in your messages or your addresses or really whatever text you want to be displayed on your screen. You can see numbers, letters, and special buttons, which we'll also cover later. On laptops, it looks considerably different and can vary from laptop to laptop, but with most laptops that people have these days, everything from here to here and over is cut off, and then these buttons are arranged somewhere amongst these keys, usually around the outer edge. So that's basically it for the keyboard. There's nothing flashy about it. The next component, which is also something you use all the time and may not even think about it, is the mouse. The mouse is what causes the cursor or the arrow to go around the screen, and has a couple basic functions. To start, the mouse has two buttons, a right button and a left button. When you push them down, they make a clicking sound, so that's where the terminology right click, left click came into play. Um, some mice, but not all, have this little wheel in the center called a scroll wheel, and we'll cover what each of the components or the parts of this mouse can do a little bit later as we cover each component individually. The next component I'd like to talk about is called the speakers. Pretty straightforward, just like in your car when you're listening to music. You're listening to sounds from your speakers. Same thing with the computer, they have speakers, and they're used to play sounds, music, what have you from the computer. The next thing we'll talk about, and the final thing we'll talk about in this video, is called the tower. It can be pretty like the HP here or the Dell here, or it can be just a classic white box, beige computer here. I'm not going to talk a lot about these here. I'll talk about them later in a later tutorial. But for now, there's just know that this is a computer. It's where everything connects to. Um, and this is what people are referring to when they refer to your computer. Great. So now that we've finished talking about the basics of the basic components to a computer, I'd like to take a second to talk to you about some studying techniques you can use to help make these videos more useful and valuable to you. Um, Always, as you're going along, just take notes, use your own words, and even if you can or if you want to, when you get to something that's interesting to you, just pause the video and try it out. Um, Really, your best friend with computers is going to be repetition and note taking. Probably repetition more so than note taking. Um, Really, with this, there's not much repetition you could do, maybe flashcards, but as we go on, we'll introduce more things like different techniques for browsing the web, and it'll really help if you pause the video and do the techniques. And not just once while you're viewing the video, even after you viewed the video. Make a point maybe to do it 2 or 3 times a day or 10 times a week. Sounds like it might be a lot, but most of the stuff is pretty much stuff you'll use all the time when you're browsing anyway, and so it shouldn't be too hard to get repetition in there. The other thing I wanted to do was take a minute to open the floor to any questions, concerns, or suggestions you have, either for topics or areas of improvement within the tutorials. The best way to get this information to me is to comment on the video, as I don't check my YouTube messages very often. So with that, for now, take care, and until the next video, have a great day.